Hello, Catherine.
Hi, Rodrick. How are
Hey,
you?
great. How are you doing today, Catherine? I appreciate you being on the podcast again.
Oh, wonderful. Thank
Well,
you.
well, good. So, how's the weather down there in Palm Beach these days?
Ooh, it's not so good today. I think we are in a summer depression already. There's lots and lots of rain coming.
Oh goodness, that's not Florida's weather normally comes and goes, right? So now you've got maybe a tropical depression or disturbance or something. It's amazing how we've had these depressions already, and June 1st just started the hurricane season. So
Yeah,
let's
actually, we started with this already end of May, so it's a little early this year. These
right.
tropical depressions are coming our way.
I guess we're getting a year's full of everything this year, all in one year, aren't we?
Probably that's what it is. A little bit, or a lot of everything, rather, right?
Exactly, a lot of everything. Well, if you don't mind, today, Catherine, and if I didn't announce you as Katrin Theodoli of Magnum Marine, I wanted to talk about sort of the military aspect of your boat manufacturing. And I've always wondered, with so many boat builders and so many building pleasure boats of all various kinds and sizes and what have you, not many built, for the military. And I was wondering, why is that, and what was the impact for you, sort of with your military background and building for different military groups?
Well, I think probably one of the reasons that other boat builders don't build for the military is because it's very challenging. You really, really need to build a super strong, stable, reliable, quality craft.
Right.
The military, as we all know, puts on more hours in a month than the average client in a year. So their requirements are much more extreme than they would be for the average boater. And I think the reason I like to build for the military is because it corresponds to my personal desires too when I go out to sea. I'm looking for safety and stability and reliability as well. And but obviously it takes a lot more, and the cost is also greater. And I think that there are three things that count in the construction uh, for a safe, stable, reliable boat, and especially for the military, is the structure. I mean, we don't save in construction, and our boats are probably or surely heavier than others. But I insist that the hull bottom is solid fiberglass. So if ever someone ran into something or aground, never has a Magnum delaminated, never has a Magnum sunk, never has a Magnum had a hole. And so the structure is extremely solid and heavier than most other boats. And we use Kevlar and carbon fiber and composites and high technology. And so the structure is important. It's important that all the systems are redundant. So if something fails, you can go along with something else. And then, of course, Magnum is famous for the deep V hull. And the deep V hull gives you the stable ride. It slices through the sea. But of course, you need more power for speed. And I think that many boat yards that build for pleasure clients say it's not really worth it. We build a flatter bottom, and we need less power, and we can go even faster. And so it's a compromise, what you want. And I think for most pleasure boaters, it's really not that important that the hull is stable, that the hull can go through any kind of adverse seas. But for the military, it's absolutely indispensable. If you go out to sea, they have to be able to go out in any kind of sea condition. And be safe and the crew be stable and comfortable as well.
Right.
So I feel very much like that. For me, it's just as important as it is for the military, because I wouldn't like to bang around on a flatter
Right.
bottom boat. I wouldn't like the idea of possibly sinking somewhere or not coming home, So,
Right. Did let me interrupt. Did that, from the very beginning of manufacturing, Magnum boats, was that deep V bottom just something that was ingrained in you that you wanted to start from day one, or did that evolve? Because I've heard you say that very many times about, the deep V and how important it is. So I mean, how what was its evolution just of the of the hull or the plug itself?
well, the deep V was conceived in the early racing days, and when Don Arno started first with the Donzi brand, and then, as I said before, from Donzi, then started the Magnum brand and the cigarette brand. And the concept was the Deep V is fantastic for racing because of the performance and the being able to take even adverse sea conditions. And when we purchased Magnum Marine in 1976, we continued with that philosophy, the philosophy of a boat that can take any kind of sea condition. And the difference was that we also made a larger boat. We made a high performance yacht and not only a race boat. So it's basically a race boat, which is also a yacht and gives you the comforts of a yacht.
Right. Did the evolution of military boats evolve into pleasure boats, or was it the pleasure boats that were sort of first that then evolved into military contracts?
Well, I think in Don Arno's time, he built a race boat and he won a lot of championships, and the military saw that and thought, or the patrol, Miami, Florida Marine Patrol and Coast Guard saw that and said, oh, this really would be ideal for us because we have to go out and catch the drug runners. And so basically those two interests met, and at the time it was very much the same thing, the race boat and the military boat. And we continued because I really believe in that philosophy, a boat that can withstand everything and that has a huge, big top speeds, right?
Right, right. Well, from the from the military boats themselves, did you ever have a most memorable, patrol, craft or military boat that you guys built?
Well, I think the most extraordinary military boat that we built was for McDonnell Douglas. And they were looking for a high performance military patrol craft to demonstrate their high tech weapon system. And they looked around and told me that the only boat that they had chosen or that they would even consider as a platform for this weapon system was the Magnum. And so we built this boat together for them, and it was basically a remote controlled patrol craft. Remote, which is quite extraordinary. It had its own trailer, so the boat could be launched from the trailer or can be put onto the trailer. The trailer would go on a cargo ship, on a cargo plane, sorry. And with the plane, it could go into active duty wherever it was around the world. It could then launch itself from the trailer into the water, and then it could take off by remote control. And it had this Nighthawk weapon system from McDonnell Douglas, and it had a big 30 millimeter cannon, stabilized cannon. And that patrol craft, could be teleguided from, let's say, the Pentagon. And it was an incredible, extraordinary concept, sort of like the drones today that are flying, but this was
Right,
a patrol craft.
right.
So it was an exciting exciting project to be working together with.
Was it strictly remotely manned, or was there opportunities then for pilots on it?
No, we had this boat was theoretically remote controlled, or could have been, or could be remote controlled.
Right.
But in actual fact, it had a crew.
Right.
And it had a crew cabin as well.
Right.
And but McDonnell Douglas just took this boat around the world and displayed the weapon system and the boat.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it was quite an incredible patrol craft.
Right. How big was it?
It was 40 feet.
Right.
It was
And
40 feet so that it could go into the cargo plane on the trailer and on the cargo plane. But they had a project for a bigger boat, which we also designed, but then regretfully never realized, a 70-foot, very
Right.
similar to that, and also with its own trailer, and also which would fit into a cargo plane. So the concept was, that you could bring these patrol craft into action all around the world in hours rather than in days or weeks or months, right?
Right. I mean, and building that with McDonnell Douglas, were they an easy client? I mean, was it completely spec'd out and all you had to do was build it and rig it and make it go, or was it sort of a challenging project?
Oh, it was very exciting because, of course, they had never built this before, but we had, engineers, and we worked together with them, and it was an incredible experience and a very, very, very exciting project.
Right. What was it like when you were done and sort of giving it to them?
Oh, it was fun, and I don't know. Did you see the pictures of this Magnum with the big cannon on the bow?
I have seen
Oh,
it in your book. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that was extraordinary. And then it went to various patrol or military shows. I know it went to Dubai and on its trailer in its cargo plane, and it traveled around the world. And I
Right.
think that I heard the U.S. Navy is using it now in San Diego.
Oh, geez, fantastic. Well, I know you've built boats for the Navy and the Coast Guard and Marine Patrol. I mean, have you built any other boats for foreign governments or anything like that?
Yes, I think that having built patrol craft locally in the United States, the McDonnell Douglas boat, of course, but also U.S. Coast Guards and Florida Marine Patrol, the word spread around, and we built 20 patrol craft for Kuwait, and that was very successful. And from that, we got many other clients and potential clients and people who wanted our know-how and technology. We were even invited by the Chinese government to come over and share technology, which they were very interested in. And not that we did, but we had the honor to be invited because they thought, we were a very experienced, or we are a very experienced patrol craft builder.
Right. Was was there ever like a memorable moment with a military visit? I mean, either domestic or foreign or anything like that?
Oh yes, we had obviously many visitors. We had the Israeli Navy who came to visit. We had probably one of the most exciting, most remarkable moments was when the leader of the Lebanese forces in the civil war, during their civil war, came to visit. That was very exciting. The Lebanese had a long civil war for about 15 years, from 75 to, I think, 90. And so there were different militias and factions. And I was contacted by one of the factions, I think a Christian faction, a man called Samir Jaja, who was then about, I think, 35 years old, and he wanted to come and see me because he heard about our reputation of building incredible patrol boats. And so I said, well, of course, you know.
Right.
But I remember sitting in my office in the evening when he announced his visit. And we looked down on the yard, and there were these two big black limousines arriving. And men got out, all dressed in black,
Right.
and actually black leather. So I said, oh my God. I was a little nervous because, frankly, I didn't know what Lebanese militias were like, you know.
Right.
And
Right.
so I was waiting for this visit, a little anxious.
Sure.
And but they came, and Samir Jaja introduced himself, and he was actually very, very, very charming. And he wanted patrol craft, small patrol craft,
Right.
because they had just taken over the ports in Lebanon. And so we made a project and we made specifications. Then, regretfully, he lost the ports in the Civil War, and we never got to build those boats. But it was very exciting.
Right. Right. Well, when when I would say dignitaries from the Navy or the Coast Guard or from overseas, came to 188th Street, do you think they were enamored with the 188th Street and what it was all about, and being that you're sort of the first yard, as you are now, and I mean, do you think they were more enamored, or do you think you were when you had these guests coming to your place?
Well, I think it went both ways. I think that we certainly have the reputation of building the best performance craft in the world, and the proof is that all these military governments did come and visit and have requests and want us to build boats, and we did build patrol craft for them. And so we have an incredible reputation for that. And for me, it was quite exciting because I had never been in the military world before.
Right.
And so it was fun.
Right. And so, being able to host those guests and being able to build for, all these different, military organizations, does that sort of lead into more opportunities for pleasure boats, or is that a great foray that people would buy military craft, see them, and people with either a direct connection would come with interest in a pleasure boat, or from any standpoint like that, did sort of go hand in hand with the opportunities to build more pleasure craft related to military
Oh, I
sales?
think so. I think that when you have the reputation, as we have, that we build patrol craft for the military, I think it really means for the pleasure boater that that we are a company that builds a very safe, stable, fast, reliable boat. And so many clients, especially clients who are experienced and who love to go to sea, are really looking for that and want a safe boat. And it doesn't matter so much for them if it's, what color it is and what marble it has inside and what galleys it has and how many gadgets it has, but that it really is a safe boat and will not delaminate, will be strong and reliable in any sea condition. So many clients were impressed or are impressed by the performance and the quality of the Magnum. And so when for example, Samir Jaja came to us, we immediately sold a private yacht to one of his friends who was also in the Lebanese forces, who wanted a Magnum 70. When we sold the 20 patrol craft to Kuwait, the royal family of Kuwait all came, and we sold many other boats to the royal family in Kuwait. and then the royal family of Saudi Arabia and Bahrain and Qatar. And so I do think that that is sort of the result of the reputation that we gained in building these fabulous, strong, fast patrol craft.
Right. And I think I heard you from our last podcast, a boat that brings you back home, right?
Well,
That's real.
absolutely. I mean, that's for me personally. That's the key. You know.
Right. Right. And nowadays, you're right, with reliability, so important, and the lack of reliability in the past. So that's fantastic. Well, I appreciate you coming on again. Katrin, I think we were trying to keep these podcasts to a particular topic, and it was very fascinating, for all the different, patrol boats and military boats that you've built over the years. And so I know we had a few other topics coming up in the weeks to follow. So I just want to thank you again for your time. If there's anything else you'd like to say, that'd be fantastic. But I really appreciate you coming on today.
Rodrick, it's a great pleasure. And as I say, last week and the week before, we can't wait till this pandemic is over, and that we can really have this Magnum rally and be together once again on the seas. I think it's something that we all wish for.
Fantastic. Thank you so much again, Katrin. I look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you, Rodrick. It was a pleasure.
All right. Bye-bye.